Hey guys, it's Addison, and I just wanted to do a video about the digital Garrison app and where all the data comes from and where the events come from and all that kind of stuff. So let's get started. Okay, so the dashboard. Your installation, like whatever this says right here, Fort Stewart, Georgia, that came from the installation information when you filled out the spreadsheet. So one side would say, like one of the sheets said installation, your, social media, your address, that kind of stuff. So that one's pretty straightforward, and I'll show you a little bit more about the installation data. And then let's talk about the events. So the events actually come from the home page of the MWR site. So let me show you what I mean. So this is Fort Rucker, right? We've got the hunting initiative. Let me get out of this and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is the home page of Fort Rucker, right? And you can see hunting initiative right here. Now it doesn't show the center library, reading program and that kind of stuff. Because some of these are like announcements, like the MWR newsletter and that kind of stuff. So basically, as a rule of thumb, if the event has like a start time and a start date and all that kind of stuff, and I think location. No, I'm not sure. Maybe location. That's how it's going to show up on the website. So, or on the app. So it's showing the hunting initiative, but it's going to skip over these, and then the next one is Splash, because that's the next one that has a start times, start day, all that kind of stuff. So you wouldn't really see like the CYS reopening, because it's not really like an event, but you would see Splash and the Splash Pool. So let me get back to my presentation. Okay. And we'll go from there. Okay. All right, so let's talk about everything that's on the installation page, right? You've got Gates, installation directory, newcomer's guide, and the Gold Star badge. Now, the Gold Star family badge is the same for everybody. So when you click on that, you'll see it's the same for every installation, and that doesn't really come through the API. It's just part of the app. And I'll show you the newcomer's guide and stuff in a second, but let me show you Gates. So if I click on Gate information, right, this is the first screen I'll see. Now, this up here is the installation description. That's where that data is coming from. Now, if you want to update the installation description, installation is not part of the API yet. So you'll see it in your websites as one of your express objects, right? But right now, this is not coming through the API. It's just the organization data and the Gates data. All right. So if you want to change this, just email me, let me know, and I'll update it for you as soon as possible. Okay, so we've got all of the Gates, right? You'll see the hours, and then this little bell here, that's the notice. So in your sites, when you're editing a gate, this is being fed by the quote-unquote notice. That's what that field is for. And then we've got the map and, the directions and all that kind of stuff. So that's the Gates. So installation description, and then all of your Gates. Now, one thing that I did see that I kind of liked, I think Fort Gordon did it and a couple other people. So Gates are a different express object. They're a different data set, right? Because a gate doesn't have like a phone number or, a Facebook page. But one thing that Gordon did is they actually submitted their visitor control center as a gate. So it would show up, instead of saying main gate, it would say visitor control center, and it would have the hours and any kind of other information that you needed about getting into the installation and stuff like that. So you can add that. You can add a gate, right? Even though it's not really a gate, that's where it'll show. See, Gates of the installation. And so you could make the visitor control center one of these entries. So that's just a fun idea. Food for thought. Okay. So let's talk about the installation directory and where all of this data comes from. Okay, so first of all, it's IMCOM data, right? So all of these spreadsheets that you guys filled out, all of that is in here. Now, the stuff that doesn't show up in here is if it didn't have a Latin long, all right? It has to have a Latin long and a couple of other things that are the required, the mandatory fields. And then some people, like let's say they had a unit that didn't want to show the Latin long, but still wanted to be in the app, basically the Latin long goes to the front gate. So if I have like Fort Stewart, if I have one of the units, right, like the 188th Infantry Brigade, and they don't want to show the grid coordinates to their battalion headquarters, you could just put the grid coordinates for the front gate, and that way it would still show up in the app. The AFES data came from basically their store ops, right? Now, I will tell you that the data that came from the store ops, some of it was up to date and some of it wasn't. It was kind of depending on that garrison and kind of depending on like the type of listing. And so some things we did see were seasonal vendors kind of showing up. So like people who show up to take Christmas photos and that kind of stuff. Even though it showed it was open, they're not actually there. So if you see anything, AFES related data that isn't quite right, or you think that like, hey, no, I'm pretty sure those hours are different, just let us know. Send it in the app feedback or email me or whatever you want to do, and we'll try to fix all that. And then the third place the data came from was the MWR data. Now, I will tell you that MWR is working on their big Web 2.0. And so the data that we have in the app now came from a big flat file. And it came from a flat file back in April. So if you also see anything wrong with MWR data, like hours or, like location might be wrong or something like that, let us know and I can fix that, because all of the MWR data updates are going to be manual until they turn on the API. And that is projected for August or September. So let me know if anything needs to be changed for that. But that's where the MWR data came from. And then also some people will have housing data that is unique. So if you have privatized housing by like Balfour Beatty, Lincoln Properties, or Corvius, that data was collected and added into the directory as well. Now, one thing I do want to tell you about categories is we had a lot of problems with categories. And so basically what I ended up having to do was look at every single MCOM or MWR record and assign it individually by categories. So I am anticipating a lot of category changes, and basically there's not a way to update those correctly yet through the API. So let's say you've got a library and right now it's in services, but you want to move it to fitness and rec, or vice versa. You do have to email me and let me know. But we're working on that. We're going to fix that. But in the meantime, if you want to change a category, you would have to let us know. Me know. And I'm also anticipating, errors, because like I was going through thousands and thousands of records, and I know I made mistakes. So if I didn't catch something, let me know and I'll fix it ASAP. Okay. Let's see. All right, so let's talk about the installation directory. So these are all of your organizations, right? In your website, it's called organizations, and that's the prior video that I did. And basically, what's showing now in the app is the name, the hours of operation, the address. We've got the Latin long. Right now, the building number is not part of the address. But we are working on that, and we're going to start showing that soon. So that's coming. You don't have to change anything right now. We're just going to start showing building numbers, I think, in another month. I think that's what it is. We're also showing only the primary phone right now, not the secondary. And the website, the notice, which is this thing right here, and then descriptions. It's down here. I just didn't take the screenshot very well. Now, I will tell you that you'll see a lot of descriptions in the app that were not necessarily submitted with the data. And basically what happened is that I was given a bunch of like generic descriptions, like for MWR, I had a generic description of, like a CDC or an indoor pool or an outdoor pool. And so I went through and plugged those in. And I did the same thing with the MCOM data. I basically took the descriptions that Neil had made for the IEW websites like the Garrisons and, the Directorate of Emergency Services, that kind of stuff, and plugged those in. So those were not added in your data and they were not replaced. Like if you already had a description, it didn't replace it. But that's where they came from. And I can give you guys that if you want to plug that data in for your website. But that it is one of those things that is different from app and directory from, app to website. You'll see a lot of generic descriptions. But those can be changed through the API. If you just upload a description and you want it to be different, it'll go straight through the API. Let me see. Oh, hours. Okay. So we did have a problem with some of the long hours. So basically, the Digital Garrison app was not prepared to show any more than 30 characters. So it was kind of running off the page and stuff like that. And so if you see hours of operation that are different, like let's say a lot of pools for MWR and like DFACs where they had like breakfast, lunch, and dinner hours and they were different on every day, I either had to move those to the notice. So like down here, I had to move, closed for lunch daily from noon to 1. Or I had to move it to the description if it was still too long. So that is another thing that you will see that's different. We're working on like being able to show more than 30 characters. But if you see your hours are funky or different, let us know and I can fix that. But the hours of operation will also come through the API too. So if you change that in your websites, it'll automatically update. It's just not for the MWR stuff yet. So that's getting there. And let me see, what else was I going to say? I feel like I forgot something. Oh, okay. So for updates right now, this week and next week, everything's going to be done in batches. So if you update the hours of operation for like the Army, AER, right? They won't show until tomorrow because we're anticipating a lot of updates just because, the data is back from April. So there's going to be updates, there's going to be changes and that kind of stuff. And so we don't want to bog down the system too much. So right now, this week, we're going to batch all of those updates daily. And then next week, we're going to start increasing it. Decreasing it. So it'll go from daily to every 6 hours to every 3 hours. We're going to kind of slowly, work those updates to get smaller and smaller. And I'm pretty sure, my opinion is that I think we can get away with updating every 15 minutes. So, no updates will take longer than 15 minutes to get to the app. But I could be wrong. I'm crossing my fingers. I think we can do that. But we're just trying not to slow down the websites and slow down the app and, all that kind of stuff. So like I said, right now, it's going to be daily for just this week and next week maybe. By the end of the week, we'll start decreasing that time. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the Newcomer's Guide. Newcomer's Guide is just a link. And so if you want to change this, if you want it to go somewhere else, That can't come through the API, but you just email me and let me know, and I can change that. Sorry, drinking my water. And then the COVID link is the same thing. So it's just a link right now. If you want to change it, all you got to do is email me and I'll update it. It usually doesn't take me more than a day to do your updates and stuff like that. So that's too easy. Just let me know. Okay, so last but not least, hotlines. So when you go to the flyout menu and you click hotlines, you'll come to here, right? You've got two tabs. One says U.S. National and one says Local. So the U.S. National are the big ones, right? Like all of the U.S. National lines that are the same for everyone, right? At least stateside. And then you have Local. And these are all Garrison specific. So the way that I collected the hotlines is, number one, I went to, your spreadsheets. And if you had checked that it was a hotline category, I took those, right? And then I also went to your crisis phone numbers pages and added those in. And then, obviously the ones that I didn't already have. Now, I will tell you that right now, hotlines cannot be updated through the API. So, for example, division operations, right? Division operations is probably in the organization data, right? It's showing up in the directory and that kind of stuff, and it's part of your website. But if you wanted to update it here, you would have to email me and tell me to change it, okay? We're working on making this part of the API, but, the organization data is so big and all that kind of stuff. We're kind of focusing on all of those right now. So yeah, just let me know and I can update those. Okay, so let's do a recap of what's coming through the API and what's manual right now. So all of the organization data. So that's all of your express objects that are phone numbers, Latin longs, descriptions, all that kind of stuff that shows up in the installation directory. And then your gates are coming through the API as well. And then like all the rest of the MWR stuff is, the events at least are coming through an API. Now, if these over here are things that you would have to email me that I have to manually change right now. So any of your links, like if you wanted to change the link to the newcomers, your COVID links, and like I said, hotlines also need to be changed manually right now. And then any of like the installation, the big installation data. So if you wanted to change like the name of an installation or the description, like the one that's on like the Gates page, you would have to email me. And the installation information changes will never be part of the API because they're just so big, right? Like we don't want anybody to accidentally change the name of, I don't know, Joint Base Lewis McCord to Joint Base Lewis McChord or something like that, So that's not going to be part of the API. But a lot of stuff doesn't come from this. You're only seeing a few things that actually come from the installation data, but just so you guys know. So that's all of that. I hope I covered everything in this video. Like I said, this is just the about video, and then I have another one that I'm loading to the Google Drive right now for how to use the new directory and stuff. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, just email me. Here, I'm going to put my email right here. GrooverAE@afees.com. I think most of you have my email address because I've emailed everybody so many times, but just so you have it, it's right there. And you can always find me on Facebook or call me. So, all right, guys, thank you.